listening to the nation's premier source on health, beauty, and wellness. Detroit Nation with Dr. B. Elaine Arterberry. Lifestyle Driven.
Hi, this is Dr. Arterberry from Detroit Nation, where we are lifestyle driven and committed to health, beauty, and wellness. I'm delighted today. Our guest today is the renowned designer Kevan Hall. Kevan has redefined the hallowed house of Halston into the next millennium. He was the design and creative director from fall of 1998 to spring of 2000, where he really brought the dormant brand back to its former glory. Kevan in 2002 launched his own signature line, Kevan Hall Collections, which really defines glamour and style. He is a native Detroiter, and I'm delighted that he's here today. Welcome, Kevan.
Well, good morning, Dr. Elaine. It's good to speak to you.
It's good to speak to you as well. I've been so impressed reading about you, including the people that you've dressed. It's been phenomenal. Celine Dion, Sharon Stone. Many people have won awards in your gown. I mean, life-defining moments wearing your couture collections. That must be quite exciting for you.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, just as a young kid, growing up in Detroit, watching the Ed Sullivan Show and watching, the Diana Ross and Supremes make their debut and seeing all the talent, on Soul Train and that kind of thing, and dreaming of dressing celebrities. And then, fast forward some years later, being able to dress, Vanessa Williams, Tina Fey, Felicity Huffman, who you mentioned, who won the award, won an Emmy in my gown, and so many other. Taraji Henson, in her breakout show Empire. I've just had the pleasure of dressing so many, wonderful, talented women.
You've also dressed Alfre Woodard, Salma Hayek. I mean, the list goes on and on. Kevan,
and how about Michelle Obama? How about that?
Yeah, exactly. You've really pretty much dressed everybody. I have a question for you. Do you feel like, is it different when you see somebody in your gown and they're at an award show versus just down the runway? Is it a different feeling?
Oh, yes, a different feeling, because you must know that when a celebrity picks a dress to wear on the red carpet, they probably been shown, dozens and dozens of dresses from designers all over the world. So when they, pick your gown to wear, it really kind of speaks volume about, about the dress and about, their support of the brand and the designer. And basically, as a designer, what you're trying to do is you're trying to create that moment on that red carpet. It's going to be like that right girl at the right award show in the killer dress that is going to propel the designer career, as well as people look at the actress differently. She can become like a fashion girl, or one that they look to for fashion, and eventually become like an iconic fashion girl or actress, I should say.
Well, I agree with you. I think that very often when you first see that person in the dress, it becomes like a iconic moment, good or bad.
Good or bad, exactly.
Right,
exactly.
And it often defines people. It changes the way people look at themselves and how other people look at them. And I really think that's the power of fashion. And I really hope we get into that. I wanted to talk a little bit about your background, though, because our listeners, a lot of them are from Detroit. And tell me about your background in Detroit. Where'd you grow up? Where exactly are you from?
I grew up, off of 7 Mile in Livernois area. Very fond memories of, growing up there, shopping on the Avenue of Fashion. My mom just loved clothes, and they would dress us, for Sunday service or whatever. And we did a lot of our shopping, on what was at that time the Avenue of Fashion. Really great boutiques, and, many of them gone, but phenomenal boutiques there. And grew up there, and then, I went to Cass Tech. I went to Bobien Junior High, which was in the neighborhood there, and yeah.
Oh, I think that's wonderful. Absolutely. So what really inspires you? I've been looking at the colors. You have tremendous colors in your collection. What really inspires you? What makes you decide what year you're going to do which colors, or what you're going to focus on?
Right. I love color, and I'm not afraid to use color. I always try to find colors that are slightly rare in terms of, maybe we haven't seen that color or that combination of those colors mixed before recently, or, they're just slightly off shades that I find interesting, as I'm shopping around the world for fabrics. Back and forth to Paris sometimes, looking and seeing, going to one of the big fabric shows there. I'm just kind of scanning to see, what colors pop and what textures pop and what's going to be the next thing.
Yeah.
And I embrace that, and my customers, they love color, so I always give them great color.
Do you have to sort of stay? It sounds like fashion, you're almost working a year ahead. So people are working, or picking out clothes now for spring or even maybe farther on. Is that how it works?
Yeah, we work, we start the collection at least 6 months to 8 months before it's actually shown, looking at fabrics, developing trimmings, buttons and findings and all the things that actually go into making a full collection. When I design a collection, it's pretty thematic.
It's pretty. I'm sorry. It's pretty.
16. The new spring collection is based on Capri, Italy, and I've been spending a lot of time in Italy recently with one of the other collections that I do. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that later. But the colors again, of Capri, the beautiful textures of the Capri, and that incredible kind of resort lifestyle influenced this 2016 collection. So, yeah, we work very far in advance, and then it all kind of comes together, at showtime or at market when we go to what we call market to present the collection to our stores and our buyers.
One thing that I think is very interesting is this ability to be creative and also understand the business of fashion. Is it tough to balance those?
Yeah, I like to call it, it's that fine line between creativity and commerce, where you have to be, if you are a owner of a company, then you have to be cognizant of, everything. You have to, watch the bottom line. You have to, make sure that, all the details are taken care of in your business, your taxes, payroll, all that stuff that is like a bore. But, it's so important, otherwise you won't have a business. But then you also have to have that creative side, and that creative side is what is going to, excite the customer and, make her, can't feel like she can't live without it. What is going to also excite the press so that you can get, people talking about it and have some buzz, behind your brand. So it's that fine line that it has to balance and it has to work together.
Yeah. Last week you were here in Detroit for Fashion Speaks. What was that about?
Yes, that was an incredible event. I believe this was their third or fourth year. Karen Buscemi puts that on together with a group called DGG, which is the Detroit Garment Group, and it is a wonderful day talking fashion, talking about how one can, she had a lot of different topics, but talking about how one can enter into the fashion business, be successful in the business, and all the details that go into, factory working and financing and putting lines together. And I was the keynote speaker last week and just kind of spoke a bit about my journey in fashion and, my beginnings in Detroit and how I, came to be in Los Angeles and have the business that I have today.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to go to our segment called Drivers of Change.
Detroit Nation with Dr. V. Elaine Arterberry, driving the nation to health, beauty, and wellness.
Drivers of Change, showcasing to the world the innovators from Detroit, Michigan, and the nation that are shaping the country. Today's driver of change is Kevan. He was a creator of personality and fashion. His original muse was Audrey Hepburn, and she said he is far more than couturier. He's a creator of personality. He dressed the most iconic stars: Grace Kelly, Elizabeth Taylor, Jackie Kennedy, and Wallace Simpson even loved him. To his most famous muse, Audrey Hepburn. His name and legacy was really synonymous with Parisian chic for more than 50 years. When he sold his label in 1998 and retired, his business actually became better under the most exciting designers, Galliano, Alexander McQueen, Riccardo Tisci, and that's why we picked him today as Drivers of Change. It's interesting when we talk about this, Kevan, because I think Givenchy had that sort of knack for melding the woman's personality with her fashion sense. Is that important in fashion today?
Yeah, it absolutely is. You want to, create something that, is really beautiful, something that is chic, and something that a woman can actually relate to. Because at the end of the day, the clothes have to be worn and they have to be, appreciated. So it's again, it's about a balance. Finding the right pieces that really fit that personality of that wearer, whether it be an actress, whether it be a school teacher, or whoever's wearing the outfit or the dress or the pant or the jean or whatever it is you're proposing. It has to work into her lifestyle.
What part of the design process, what do you like best about what you do? Is it the design? Is it the execution? What do you like? What do you like best about what you do in your career?
I think what I really love is doing the concept and then, kind of working it through to see it, presented. So, as I mentioned, each collection has a specific theme and that kind of thing, and then it's that research in order to pull it together, even down to the point to where when we show a collection, particularly when we show it on the runway, we do what are called show notes, and those notes are basically the run-up show, and it speaks about every single piece, down to the color, down to the texture, and it is even, kind of fun to even name the pieces and name the colors. And what we see happening is, as the press is writing about the collection, they're using all of those notes and all of those phrases that we put into it. So it really helps to breathe a certain kind of life and reality into the collection.
It sounds like a very collaborative process. Do you work with a lot of people?
Yeah, I work I have a nice team. It's not a lot, it's not a large team, but I have, a few key people that I work with on the development of the collection. I like to have a little feedback. No man is an island, so you want to, have somebody to bounce ideas off of, and then, when we start getting to final process of putting the collection together, then I, bring in my show producer and I bring in, some other team members to get more involved in the process.
Watching some of your fashion shows is a high production element. It's a lot. It's actually very beautiful, like a whole
Thank you.
event. It's great. I had a question for you because I know how many celebrities you dress, and I really sort of had two questions. One, how do you get to meet these celebrities? How do you get these clients? And the other thing is, if you could dress anybody that you haven't dressed, and I know it's a lot, who would you dress and why? And who do you think needs the biggest makeover?
I'm not going to say who I think needs the biggest makeover.
You can't say?
The way that we actually get to them, I'll kind of answer that piece.
Okay.
Is there's a number of ways. I mean, very often, you as a designer, you have press and that kind of thing, and you have images that are either on the internet, or you have some press that you receive in magazines and newspapers and that kind of thing, and then maybe the actress will have seen that, and then they'll have their publicist or their manager call you, to outreach and see if they can wear a specific dress, or just to kind of take an overview of your collection and see if there might be something that works for whatever their appearance is. And then the other way that we will do it is when the award season happens, we will go through that list of Oscar nominees or Emmy nominees, or even who has movie releases, and we'll outreach again to the same people, to the publicists, to the managers, to friends of friends, to 2 degrees of separation, and see who we can get to maybe put in a word for us or give us an introduction, so that we can be considered for dressing them for whatever the event is.
When you actually dress the celebrities, what part do you play? I mean, do you actually help them with the fittings and this type of thing, or do you just sort of send the dress over? How does it work?
I enjoy dressing and working with the celebrity. I mean, it doesn't always work like that, because sometimes you can send the dress and then they have stylists and they have their team. But I find when I work with a celebrity, it is more, I enjoy it, and I think the fitting of the dresses and everything come out phenomenal. I'm also able to, give my input in terms of the total look, in terms of accessories and that kind of thing. I mean, like in the case when on one of the occasions when I dressed Vanessa Williams when she was presenting on the Emmys, I called up a friend of mine, Martin Katz, and we pulled in the diamond earrings from Martin, and we called another friend, we pulled in shoes. So it just, I'm able to kind of control the whole look and the whole image for that appearance. So I prefer that.
You prefer when you get to really sort of create the whole impression, the whole look, the jewelry,
Absolutely,
everything.
Yeah, and you can also make suggestions about hair and suggestions about makeup because I've seen fortunately my girls generally turn out looking great, but I'm sure that a lot of designers have placed their beautiful things on actresses, and then the hair person gets a little carried away because they're trying to make a statement, or the makeup person goes way over the top. So it kind of
Well, that dress for Vanessa that night was absolutely iconic. I think it was like feathers.
yeah,
It was just
that
it
was
that
that was an
pale
amazing
green.
dress.
I mean, it's an iconic. When they go back to people's best dress for the last 10 years at the award shows, which they do, that dress is always in the running.
It's in the running, yeah, because it was very special. Up until that point, there not as far as I know, we hadn't really seen feathers on the red carpet.
Yeah.
And when I did that dress, I said to Vanessa, she was nominated actually.
Hmm.
I said to her, I've got a beautiful, beautiful dress. Maybe a little risky. You're going to have to go with me on this one and trust me on this one. It might be risky because it's feathers and that kind of thing. We haven't seen feathers. We might get joke comments like,
Right.
is she going to take off and fly? Is she going to be molting?
Oh yeah, they can be quite cruel.
You just never wouldn't know what the press.
You never know.
But when she stepped out of the car, the
That's what
paparazzi
did
went
it. Oh yeah,
absolutely
I
nuts.
remember the light bulbs flashing. It was quite a
Light
moment.
bulbs, absolutely. Those light bulbs flashing, people talking, all the way down the red carpet. The word spread down the carpet before she got to
I
the other
remember
end of
they
the
were
carpet.
stopping her
Vanessa's
so
dress.
much. They were stopping her so much she couldn't make it down. You know what I mean? They were
Yeah.
like on her totally
Right,
because of
right.
that dress.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And that's one of those moments that I'm speaking of creating, that.
And I think that speaks to the power of fashion. I think some people can be intimidated by fashion. It seems so unattainable. But you've created this sport sort of lifestyle collection that is very attainable for
Absolutely.
people. And so what made, this is sort of a departure for you. You've been sort of haute couture, evening, bridal. What made you depart and try to do a more fun sort of lifestyle collection? What made you decide to do that?
Well, I dress my clients, from day into cocktail into, black tie, red carpet events and that kind of thing. But there was this category that was missing, and one of my top clients, said to me, I love your clothes, and I actually wear them all the time, except when I get on the golf course or when I'm doing some of my sport activities, I can't find things that still
right, and I can't wear that evening gown. Right. We're going to take a quick break.
I thought, this would be actually a great opportunity to do something of departure, and actually, when I designed it, the concept was that it was going to take the woman from her door to the greens, which is like, to the golf greens, to the clubhouse, which is where she wanted to spend most of her time hanging out with her friends and having a drink or whatever, a great lunch. But what we have found is that it has done exactly that and more, because it's gone from just being a golf collection into being this new category, which they call athleisure, which is athletic leisure wear.
Okay.
Because everybody's running around in their, yoga pants and jogging pants. Most of them shouldn't, but many are. But this particular collection, the Kevan Hall Sport Collection, is proposing a more elevated look that you can just kind of, wear on the green or wear as you're, being active, and then just, keep it on, change it, put on your wedge, put on a great bag, dress it up, dress it down. So it's been a really great collection to develop, and it has been very, very well received.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Kevan Hall. This is Detroit Nation.
Detroit Nation with Dr. V. Elaine Arterberry. Lifestyle driven.
This is Dr. Arterberry back with Kevan Hall, the iconic fashion designer. We were talking, Kevan, about your lifestyle collection, and I was very interested in it because you said it was elevated. People are running around in sweatpants, stretch pants, and you want to elevate this so that they can still have the comfort but get a
Right.
little more fashion with that look. Is that the goal?
That's the goal. Yes, absolutely. And I mean, these are real sport clothes in that they, particularly, as I mentioned, we started it off as a golf collection, so it does all those things that it needs to do on the golf course or within a active lifestyle. The fabrics are UV protection, they're moisture wicking, which means that they take the perspiration from your body and it evaporates into the air. It is easy to care for, easy to wash. It travels very, very well. You roll it up, throw it in a suitcase, put it in your overnight bag or whatever, stick it in, carry on, and you can just, step out in it. Just, unroll it, put it on, and you look amazing.
Right, and it doesn't wrinkle, and it's made of all these sort of comfort-friendly fabrics. I think it's
Right.
fantastic. You do a lot of work.
And our prints are really the core of the collection. We come up every collection has lots of exciting prints that are beautiful colors, and then there's solids that work back to those prints. So for that lady that maybe doesn't feel comfortable, knowing how to mix her print and her solid, and knowing how to mix her wardrobe, we've actually kind of done it all for her in this sport collection. It all works back together, so she can pull any number of pieces and just put them on and not really have to give it a lot of thought, because it really does work.
You do a lot of work in Italy for HSC 24. Is that sort of like HSN for Italy?
Exactly. It is like an HSN or like a QVC,
Okay.
and I've been doing that for the last 2 years, and it's really one of my most exciting things that I do. And I think probably because I love going to Italy. I mean, now I'm in Italy
That can't be too tough.
6 times a year presenting that collection on air. And we are in talks also now with the UK, with QVC UK.
Okay.
We are also in talks now with Russia, with a shopping channel in Russia, and so we're really excited about that collection.
How is designing for QVC different than sort of designing for the runway client or the celebrity client?
That collection is really great. It is a collection that goes from extra small to extra large.
Okay.
And, it really addresses every woman, every size, every fit, and these pieces are very, very easy to wear because they're tunic tops and beautiful blouses, pull-on pants, easy skirts. We've engineered the elastic, so, let's say in a pull-on pants, it doesn't look like a grandma's pull-on pants. We've really
Right.
engineered in a way that looks chic and sophisticated, but you have all that comfort and ease and ability to go up in size and look great.
Right. And so you don't have to buy, if you're having some weight fluctuation, the clothes still work for you.
The clothes are still working, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, always with great colors, always with great prints, and and those wonderful signature details.
So when you're designing for mass market, you have to look at everything. Is it harder to choose the fabric? Do you have to think about someone may wash this as opposed to designing a designer gown?
Right, yeah, those are things that to be considered as well. The wearability care. People are going to just throw it in the wash, so you want to make sure that it's going to hold up in the wash, and you also want to make sure that it doesn't have what we would call like floating threads or things that can turn into like slubs or little hair balls and things like that once
Right.
they're worn. So we try to be very selective about longevity of these pieces.
It's quite a process. I saw a event that you did with Michael Pappas Furs. Donna Pappas is a real good friend of my mom.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So I've been to that store quite a few times, and they do a beautiful job with fur. What was it like to sort of incorporate fur into your line or into the dresses, or did you just use them for accessories?
I use it for both. Over the years, I've worked with Donna and Michael for many years, and so this particular last fall, fall 2015, we did some really beautiful dresses and interesting kind of tweedy fabrics, and I decided that I wanted to kind of pair that with some furs. So we used beautiful hand-painted fox trimmings. We used it as jackets. We did what they call little chubby jackets, which are little short jackets with three-quarter length sleeves, hand-painted. We used some longer fur collar pieces. We used little some what they call boas, which are longer fur pieces to kind of sling around your body, and they were all in this incredible hand painted. Actually, those were done in Italy, hand painted Italian pelts, and they were in great colors like slate and aubergine and charcoal. Really beautiful pieces.
Oh, that's wonderful. You do a lot of trunk shows where you sort of present your work at various events. Tell me what's involved in sort of putting together a trunk show, and what is that really?
Well, a trunk show is when a designer has the opportunity to take his collection or her collection to a store and present it to all the clients of that store. I mean, typically, a store there's no way that they could house every single piece or buy every single piece that a designer has on a collection, because it's not the designer store, it's a store that, is carrying lots of different brands. So the trunk show gives the designer an opportunity to go to that store with their suitcase, or in the old days, they would travel literally in trunks.
So that's why it's called trunk.
Okay. Show. They would travel in trunk, put the clothes in trunks, show up at the store, hang the clothes up in the store, would invite all of their clients to come in and see the entire collection, which gives the clients an opportunity to maybe buy something or pick something that the store never considered, hanging in the store, or they didn't, maybe that customer has a specific need that the store didn't know about. So it gives them an opportunity to see everything.
Okay. It sounds like fun. It really is good. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here today. Thanks for coming on. This is Dr. Elaine Arterberry with Detroit Nation Radio. We had Kevan Hall, international fashion designer and international dress designer and evening gown designer now, who has a new lifestyle collection. It's such a pleasure to have you here, Kevan, and it's even a better benefit.
Dr. Elaine, I appreciate the time and having the opportunity to speak to your audience.
Yeah, it's great that you're from Detroit, and so I want to thank you for coming into the studio today. And as always, as we say here at Detroit Nation Radio, achieve your personal best, then beat it.
Detroit Nation with Dr. V. Elaine Arterberry, driving the nation to health, beauty, and wellness. Lifestyle driven.